actually, I do a lot of public speaking. I don't want to talk to you guys. So I thought, do I really want to stand up if my dress is wrinkled? Nothing like a room full of women to put you kind of back on your heels, right? Anyway, I'm actually really thrilled to be here today. I wanted to talk about a bunch of things, and I know you've heard from many people who have shared countless stories and words of wisdom and advice that is really invaluable, and things that you can't get in a book, things that you can only get when you listen to the real stories of the journeys that these women have been on. I know Barb shared with you some of the things that she's done, which Barb, I'm in awe of everything that you've done. I think it's an incredible journey that you have been on. You've helped the world become a better place. Sarah, what you just shared with us was really quite amazing. I mean, it takes courage and it takes strength. But really what I think it takes at the end of the day is defining what success actually means. One of the biggest things that I find is when people come to me all the time and say, how do I find success? I'm like, look under a rock. I don't know. You have to find it yourself. Success is something that's very personal, right? So when people say, well, I'm trying to find success, I'm like, well, okay, well, what is success mean to you? What does exactly it look like? And it's funny, if you ask people that question, if they actually stop and say to somebody, what does success look like? Most people can't answer that question. They have a notion that they want to be successful, but they don't know what that means. So one of the things I would say to you is, what does success look like for you in your life? Do you know what it looks like? Are you working towards getting there? Or are you accidentally finding it along the road? And you have to be very purposeful about your life. You have to understand what it is you're headed to. Many of us spend our lives comparing who we are on the inside to what we see on other people's outside, right? So we're so busy looking, we know all our insecurities, we know what's going on in our own heads, and then we see somebody else, we go, oh my gosh, they've got their act together, like they look perfect, she's pretty, she's thin, she's smart, she's tall, she's whatever, the Victoria's Secret version of what we all, kind of would love to. One thing I know is I'll never be tall. Then seems to be a distant memory. But you know what, it's okay, I know what I will be, I know what I can be, but my point is that we are so busy thinking about all our own insecurities that we can't see who we really are. And when you look at those perfect people, let me tell you, they all have challenges. It doesn't matter whether you're on television, it doesn't matter if you're a leader in a community, it doesn't matter who you are, you have issues and you have problems that you overcome every day. When I got asked to be on Dragon's Den, I can tell you, if somebody had said to me, paint a picture of somebody who will be on TV and what they're going to look like and what they're going to be, I would never have painted my picture, ever. When they called me about 7 years ago to be on the show, they said, we'd like you to audition, and I thought, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm, almost 50. Okay, for those of you who do the math, I'm 56 now. If you're going to lie, do it before Wikipedia. If you're going to lie there, because later on it doesn't matter. So, I'm thinking I'm old, and I'm wrinkled, and I'm a little, overweight, and why the heck do they want me? But, I went home and I said to my kids, you won't believe who just called me and asked me to kind of audition. And my kids said, well, that's fantastic, you're going to audition, right? And I went, I'm not so sure if I want to do that. It's, I don't think so. I'm really private, and I don't really want to share who I am, and blah, blah. And they go, Mom, come on, it's just an audition. You can do this, And I'm thinking, okay, what the heck, it's just an audition. I'll go. So I go, and they sit me right beside Kevin O'Leary. Now, you know how you have those moments where you go, I sat beside him and had this visceral reaction. I thought, this is exactly the opposite of what I'm going to be. And so I sat down, there was other women that were auditioning, and they didn't have a chance, I'm telling you, because all I could do was fight with him, because everything he said I disagreed with. So it was like this instant, whatever. And so I did it, and I left, and I went home, and I thought, well, that was fun. I'll never hear from him again, but that was fun. And I went home, and I said to the kids, oh, you won't believe what it was like, they sit you down on a stage, and there's a camera on you, and I said, but none of that mattered, because as soon as the entrepreneur came out and spoke to me, I immediately I wanted to hear what they had to say, and I wanted to fight with Kevin, so it was like this instant thing. I wanted to hear the entrepreneur. I forgot about the camera. So I kind of forgot about the audition. A week later, I got a call from the executive producer, and he said, Arlene, we'd like you to be on the show. And I went, really? And yeah, I said, oh, okay, let me think about it. So I went home and I said to my kids, you won't believe this. Now they want me to do the show. And they said, you're going to do it, right, Mom? And I said, I don't think so. I really, it was one thing to audition. I'm not sure if I want to do the show. And they said, well, you'll hate it, your words always come back from your kids, just a reminder now. So they look at me and they go, Mom, you always say to us, what's the worst thing that could happen? And I go, well, that's true. And I said, well, the worst thing that could happen is I'll make a fool of myself. And they go, Mom, you do that all the time. So, what the hell, right? And then they said, and you know what? Who watches that show anyhow? Honestly, God, true. And so I thought, they're right. Who watches that show anyhow? So I said, okay, I'll do this. So I took the leap and got in the show, and it has been the most amazing, going into 7 seasons now, 6 years of my life, in terms of the things that it's pushed me to do that I never thought I could do. Why? Because I didn't think I had the exterior that reflected what I knew I could do on the interior. And what the show has given me an opportunity to do is have this amazing social voice that I never thought I'd have, which is to get to share on a stage with women like you and a couple of those guys that are in there too. Did you pay them, Pam? They paid us. I'm just kidding. I had to do one male joke. I'm sorry. But to share kind of the journey of what it means to be a Canadian and to be a proud Canadian woman and to be able to do the things in this country that we can't do, that many women can't do around the world. And you've heard some of those stories today. I know Barb shared with you in particular the journey of what happened when she went to Afghanistan. And I can tell you that the TV show has given me the ability to talk to people about what really matters. And what really matters is a social conscience. And what really matters is taking care of each other and our community and the place that we come from. Because when we do that, when we take care of ourselves as women and when we take care of the people around us, we create a better world. And it is really that simple. It is about one person liking themselves and then liking their neighbor and then so on and so on. And that's what builds strong communities. So part of what I got to do as a result of being on the show and the profile from the show would go to Afghanistan. And I know you maybe wonder why you're hearing so many stories about countries and places where there is a lot of despair and where there are a lot of challenges. But the reason you're hearing about that is because it's such a juxtaposition of what we experience here in this country. So I want to share one more story with you about Afghanistan. I have been to Afghanistan twice now. I went to Kandahar and I went to Kabul. In Kandahar, I got a call one day from the Department of National Defense asking if I would go over to speak to the troops and to kind of sign autographs and just boost morale with 38 hockey players and a rock band. Well, that can't be that bad. 39 guys and me, or going on a plane. I think it's okay. And so I think, this is all right. And I tell my kids, now the opposite. I go home and say to my kids, I'm going to go to Afghanistan to visit the troops. And they go, Mom, we don't want you to go. And I go, no, I really am going to go. This is important. This is really, I've been asked for a reason. I said, no, we really don't want you to go. So we had this big discussion at home about it. And finally, I convinced my kids that it was important. And we got on the plane, and it was a bit of a interesting, we're taking off, and I don't know what I'm really going to, because I haven't studied the war very much. I kind of know about it from, in terms of what you read in the news, but I haven't really taken a lot of time and energy, because I'm a pacifist. I don't like war. I think you cannot like war, however, and really support our troops, because there's a very big difference in those two notions. And so I'm going over there kind of not knowing what to expect. We land in Kandahar, and so we go to actually Camp Raj. Camp Raj, we get on a Hercules plane. For those of you who don't know what a Hercules plane is, think of a Coke can on its side, with webbing inside, your luggage all inside of a web right in with you, and you're jam-packed in there, and you're flying in the dark into Kandahar because you have to go in the dark because they are afraid of air missiles. So we're landing in there, and we get off the plane, and it's dark, and it's dusty, and it stinks, and it is horrible. And I'm thinking, okay, this is really bad, but I can do anything for 7 days. This is not going to be that hard. About 3 days into it, the public affairs officer gathers all of us together, all of the Team Canada that were there. And she says, listen, we're going to take 6 of you outside the wire to visit the troops on the front line. And you'll know if you're one of the people that we're inviting to go out because there'll be a bag in your bunk. And if there's a bag in your bunk, that means that you're one of the people that we're asking to go out. Would you just get ready once you see that? So I'm kind of half listening to this because I'm thinking, you know what, there's hockey players, there's rock stars here. They're not going to ask me, I'm the only woman. So I go kind of back to my bunk room. I'm kind of walking back to my room, and I hear the public affairs officer behind me. I think, well, what's she doing following me? And I go into my room, and I sit on my cot. She sits beside me, and she says, Arlene, we'd like you to go outside the wire. I look at her, and I'm like, why me? And she goes, well, she says, there aren't a lot of women past journalists, and even then there aren't that many female journalists who will go to the front line. And she said, these guys really need a mother figure. Girls that are younger, while you have it, use it, okay? Whoever told you not to use your womanly gals is wrong. I'm going, really, a mother figure? So I didn't say that thing, oh God. So I go, okay. So she goes, here's the things you need to know. She said, you will not be insured. If you go outside the wire, the government can't insure you. Your own insurance is null and void, so you will have no insurance. If something happens to you, that's just the way it is. She said, second of all, you can't phone home. You can't tell your kids you're going because of security issues. So we can't have you calling outside to Canada to let everybody know you're actually going outside the wire. And the third thing is you have to decide in the next hour. So I looked at her and I went, okay, I'll do this. And she goes, really, you don't want to think about it? And I said, you know what, I've learned in life if I think about things too much, I probably don't do them. And I'm here for a reason and I'll do this. So we get to the airfield base where they're going to take us outside the wire, and flak jackets, helmets. We get on a Black Hawk helicopter, which is kind of cool, right? And we are with 2 snipers. There's 5 of us on the helicopter. One of the guys sitting kitty corner to me is a close protection security forces, chief of the security forces, close protection, who manages and guarded General Natitchuk at the time. And he's sitting kitty corner from me, and his name is Dave. Now, Dave, you remember Tom Cruise in Top Gun? Dave. Super cute. But these guys, who's Arlene? She's like a dirty old woman. As the texts fly around the room. So we're sitting there and we're taking off, and then we literally you have to picture this. We're in an airfield, it's a dusty place. We're in these Black Hawk helicopters. We've got sniper guns there. It's very serious. But kitty corner for me in his full gear is Dave. And I'm sitting in the middle between 2 of the hockey guys that were going, and we're sitting there, and the helicopter starts to lift up. And as the helicopter's lifting up, Dave looks at me and goes, so I go, and he yells at me, he goes, Arlene, if this effing helicopter goes down, you follow me. And then he turns away. And I'm going, it can go down? And now I'm like going, wait a minute, I don't rethink this, right? So I'm like freaking out now because I'm going up and think, oh my God, I don't care how cute he is, I don't want to go down. And we go to the front lines. And we visited that day 5 forward operating bases. Now I'm telling you all of this story to tell you about the thing I learned as a woman in a war field, in a war zone, on the front of the, what is that? Does that say I only have 2 minutes?
Yeah.
It's a long story. In the most absurd of places for me as a human, to learn about leadership, about being a woman, and about what it means to be a leader. I learned right there. And I'm going to tell you what I learned with the hope that you will take this all back, because I think there's no leader like a woman leader. And I think that if we do this better than anybody else in the world can do this, and this because this is intuitive to us, but this is what General Natitchuk, who I think is one of the best most amazing leaders in the world spoke about it. And I heard him give the same speech 5 times. Okay? 50 soldiers to 250 soldiers at each of these bases in the middle of the war zone. He said to them, some of you are going home in the next day or few weeks. And he says, your mind is probably on home, which means you're not thinking about the job at hand and you're distracted, which means you're putting yourself at risk and you're putting your team at risk. I need you focused on the task at hand. Then he said, I'm your leader. I'm here beside you. I'm fighting the war with you, but I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. I don't profess to know everything, but what I can tell you is that as I know it, I will share it with you and you will learn as I learn. Then he said, there isn't a Canadian who doesn't appreciate what you're doing here today. It's a hard job, and we know and appreciate that we understand what you're doing, the Canadians understand what you're doing. And then he said, there isn't a soldier in the military who wouldn't trade places with you because they know how important this job is, and they would trade places with you in a minute. And then he said, what you're doing, the job that you individually do, is really important to the success of this mission. Now, what did he really say? What was the lesson I learned about leadership? He said to those troops the same thing that every single one of us have to tell our teams that work for us every single day. I'm your leader. I don't have all the answers, but I'm here with you. I'm going to be right alongside of you doing the job with you, and you can count on me to be here. And I'm not, invincible, because I don't know everything, but I will share with you what I do know. Then he said, you're part of the team. What you do as that part of the team matters. And when you don't do your job well, you not just fail yourself, you fail your team. You have to make sure that you're here and you're showing up every day and you engage with the team. And he said, what you do every day matters. I know you give your time here to this job, to everything that we're doing as a team together, and it's important work you're doing, and it's appreciated work that you're doing. And he said, there isn't anybody out there that wouldn't want to be part of this team because this is a really important team and it's a really good team. And who doesn't want to know that every day when they go to work? Who doesn't want to know that what they do matters, that they count, that they're part of the team, that you're a leader that's with them? Simple, simple stuff that I learned 10,000 miles away in the most obscure of places. But that's what women do well. We make people feel treasured and understood, and we help them learn, and we help them grow, and we help them to succeed instead of to fail. Leadership is all about knowing what success looks like yourself, helping others to succeed, and making sure that what you're doing is comparing who you are on the inside with who you are on the inside. Because nobody else matters at the end of the day. If you can't be happy with who you are, you will never be a good leader, you will never be successful. So I know I'm now getting naked. So I hope that story will make you all think about going back to your offices and your businesses and inspiring the people around you to be willing to give 8 to 18 hours a day of their lives to the roles that they have inside of your organization.